I'm Chanel, a knitter, spinner, and physics student teacher in New Jersey. So, welcome to episode 18 of the Pipernell podcast, where I talk about fitting in crafts and creativity and finding balance in a busy life. So, Ravelry and Instagram, I am Pipernell, Pipernell. You might notice I'm talking a little fast today, trying to get through this quickly because there are like 30 minutes until sundown. I already have my natural light lamp on just in case the sun goes. But yeah, there is a Ravelry group for this, the Pipernell podcast. And just don't have much this episode, just going to be some knitting, some spinning, and then the results of my 200 subscriber giveaway. Knitting. So I have one FO. It's a pretty important FO. It is the lace weight version of my Mitered Nova, which is my first shawl design. I'm just like faffing around with it right here. And lean back. So it is very long. And I started here. And then the part that you didn't see last time is just this little bit at the end here, which I was about here, and then there wasn't this lace portion yet, and then I ended with a mitered square. So not much to say beyond what I've already said. So the inspiration behind this design really it started from the yarn. My friend Mars sent me some gradient lace weight yarn from Freya that she wasn't really, wasn't being used in her stash. So she sent it to me and I was like, I really want to do something with this. And I couldn't find a pattern that I thought would really do it justice. So I was like, let me try designing something for this yarn. And so this is, let me see if I have the ball band. So here is the ball band. It is Freya ombre lace. It's 75% wool, 25% nylon, not superwash, and it is about a 75 gram skein in 645 yards. This is about all I have left over. So that's basically, I've used up all of it. It started at a red-orange. It's showing up more red on my camera right now. And then shifts to red, then a bit of a magenta pink, which is over here. And then you shift to a bright purple, and then a darker purple. And the contrast color I used, this is how much I have left of it, I use Knit Picks Gloss Lace in Fiesta, so a nice bright red. That is a merino silk blend, and it gives the contrast color a nice sheen. So both of these are lace weight yarns, and I'm currently working on a fingering weight yarn that I'll talk about later. So went over the yarn. The needles I used for this are US 3 or 2.75 millimeters. As I'm still writing up the pattern, the gauge is not important on this design, but it will, at least for look of it, and size and fit, because it's a shawl. It's a fairly long shawl that's also wearable as a scarf. Actually, I'm kind of lazy with wrapping my scarves, so you can just do a simple knot like this. And I've taken pictures with different stylings. So something I am not quite happy with on this first version is this, so the idea behind the construction of the shawl is that you start off just like a mitered square and you end with a mitered square. So you cast on stitches, except without the decrease, and once you get to the end, you just decrease down to just one stitch, pull that stitch through, and that's done. That's all you have for your bind off for this shawl. However, I'm going to write in the instructions. I would highly recommend a slip stitch edge because I didn't slip the edge stitches on this mitered square, and it turns out kind of all cabbagey. It is much better after blocking. Blocking was kind of a pain. I was just blocking it on my bed back there, and it went down the entire length of my bed. I slept on my bed while I was blocking it. I only take up half my bed since I'm a pretty small person. But yeah, so that's what I got for the Mitered Nova. Mitered Nova starts off with a mitered square, ends with a mitered square. Things happen in between. What is called a nova. It expands and then contracts. But yeah. Next is a work in progress, a whip. So some progress on the cardigan I'm working on for my friend. She commissioned me to make a cardigan for her, and this is what I got so far. It looks, it looks like a cardigan. Last time I didn't have the sleeves, so these are set-in sleeves, picked up stitches around the edges, did some short row shaping for the sleeve cap, and then some shaping down the sleeve, ended with the cuff. So the instructions were really clearly written in the patterns. I do recommend the pattern. It's called Thirlby Cardigan by Pamela Wynn, who... Okay. So, a neat little quirk about this pattern is the sleeve bind off. So this was a knit two together stretchy bind off, but it was written, she wrote it, so she recommended you bind off in the contrasting color. The pattern actually told me to knit a round in the contrast color, then bind off, which I forgot to do that extra round, which is why I have the little pips of the blue main color in the middle of the bind off, but I think that's actually a really cool effect, and I'm quite happy with just like the chain of yellow around the edge. So yeah, did that to both sleeves. I need to block this body, and then after that I knit on the button band. So that's going to be fun. Haven't done that before either. So yeah, a lot of new techniques in this cardigan. I know maybe I'm a little crazy for taking it on as a commission project, but my friend was very willing to let me experiment and give me a lot of freedom with this project. So yeah. This cardigan is also going to have patch pockets. So here's the front right here. I'm working on pockets separately that I will sew onto the front here. I have one of the pockets here, and that's it. So, well, it's not quite finished yet. So the pockets are embellished with mosaic stitch and mosaic knitting. This was my first time doing mosaic knitting, and I am really happy with how my tension turned out and how this pattern looks in these colors. My friend chose really good colors. She wanted a turquoise and yellow, which was the same color scheme as the sample knit in the pattern, but she chose... So when I gave her the Knit Picks color palette, which the yarn is Knit Picks Swish DK, she chose Marine Heather for the blue and Honey, right, that's the name, Honey for the yellow. And this is one pocket. This is the second pocket. So the main difference between these two pockets right now is that I had a bunch of my contrast color left over. So what I did was I picked up stitches at the bind off edge of the pocket, and then I'm just knitting in stockinette all the way up the back and at the end of each row I'm picking up an edge stitch, knitting it together with the last stitch on my back and making a contrast colored lining. My friend did request lining for this because she was concerned that the color work floats would like kind of snag stuff if she put in like keys in her pocket or something, and I think that's a good idea. So trying out this lining idea. And I don't think this would change up how I sew on the pockets in the end. I still have an edge to just sew around. Yeah, the needles I'm using are, well, right now I have a US 5 or 3.75 millimeters, which I use for the body of the cardigan, the pockets, and yeah, anywhere I have stockinette stitch basically on this cardigan. And then for ribbing, I used US 3 or 2.75 millimeters. And yeah, that gets gauge on the pattern for me. That's it for the Thurlby cardigan. Wow. Okay, really blasting through. Good. Because it's getting dark. Alright. Next, I haven't started. The next thing, I haven't started it yet. So it's a needle adjacent project, NAP. But I have the yarn for the Mitered Nova's fingering weight version. Not gonna do an acquisition section this episode because I just want to get things quickly spoken about. But here is the yarn that I'm going to use for the fingering weight version. So I am writing this pattern in mind for gradient yarn because I did start off, the inspiration came from gradient yarns, but I really think that if you're happy with the color combination, go for it. I think it'd be absolutely beautiful in two solids, two tonals, or maybe a variegated and a tonal, a variegated and a solid, a wildly speckled, and I don't, just go for it. I will be looking for test knitters as soon as I write up the lace weight version, and I'm thinking the fingering weight version shouldn't be too hard to write up after I have the lace weight version, so I will, both tests of both versions will probably be going on simultaneously as I knit the fingering weight version. So this yarn is from Wee Chickadee Woolery. They're in Oregon, I think. Dyed by the lovely Jennifer. So the gradient that I'm going to use, this is in the color Tobacco Leaves, and it's on her 100% superwash merino base. So I have 490 yards to 100 grams. That's going to be a pretty hefty, it's a pretty hefty skein. And I'm thinking for the pattern is pretty adaptable, so I should be able to use up all of it, but if you have a shorter skein or, you know, heavier fingering weight, then you should be able to use about, for ranging between 380 to 450 meters. Yards. I don't like how we mix metric and imperial units. That's off topic. So the contrasting or the secondary color of the fingering weight version will be also by Wee Chickadee Woolery, is Hunting Agates, which is on a 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon base. It's this nice, speckly, very splotchy greens and browns. This is a bluish black. And I think that would go really nicely with all of the tones in the brown gradient. Yeah, the color scheme, I ended up going with an earthy color scheme for the fingering weight version because the lace weight version was a very like bold color scheme, but it also, well, the secondary color didn't contrast too much with it didn't contrast with the entire gradient. There were parts, so like the gradient started off as a different color, but then it shifted to a color that really blended with the secondary color, and then you know, it contrasted again. But I think this will be more of a contrasting the entire way color combination. Yep, that's all I have for knitting. I haven't figured out what needle size to use for the fingering weight version. I'm going to take a few swatches and figure it out. I think this is a slightly This is a slightly thinner fingering weight, probably closer to a light fingering weight, but this is, and then this is a little heftier, but I'll figure it out. That's all I have for knitting. Wow, it's only been 15 minutes so far. On to spinning. The only thing I have to talk about for spinning right now is this is going to be an ongoing project. So with my friend Mars and co-hostess of the now ended Transitions Make Along, which look for our joint prize drawing video. We tried that out earlier this morning, actually, from when I'm recording now, and that was a lot of fun. So if all goes well, that should be uploaded, unless some technical problems happen. So yeah, this is what I got so far. This is a new spindle. I'll talk about the new spindle later, but the wool that's on the spindle is this. It is natural, undyed, thin sheep wool. The preparation is comb tops, and this is actually my first time working with top. It is so soft. Hey, look, I could make a Santa beard. I am Wool Santa. So this I bought from Rhinebeck. My part of it is 4 ounces. Mars also got 4 ounces from me. This is just half of our project. So I'm spinning this up with a fairly high amount of twist. So since this is my first time spinning from comb top, I realized this is my chance to really try a true woolen spinning. I don't think I'm really doing it right. So top is a method of wool preparation where all of the fibers are aligned in the same direction. So as I'm drafting the wool, they can all come out in the same direction if I'm doing it right. And I had to look up a few videos on YouTube. I'm going to, in the show notes, which will be in the Ravelry group, I am going to put a video that helped me just like learn how to draft comb top on a drop spindle. And if I do it right and I draft a little bit, and then as I am letting the twist go into the single, I can minimize the amount of air that goes into the wool, and that produces a dense single that when I apply it will produce a dense very sturdy yarn. So hopefully that turns out. I've been putting quite a lot of twist into the yarn because I just am going for sturdiness on this yarn, and I think it still will be very soft. So more about this spindle. I guess this is 2 episodes in a row I've talked about a new spindle. That's because I've just been seeing spindles pop up on the D-stash groups I'm in on Facebook, and they were for a good price, so I'm like, you just gotta snap them up when you see a good deal. I should hold off on buying spindles for a bit though. Now I have a kind of toolkit I'm pretty happy with. This spindle is 0.9 ounces or 26 grams, and really it's been good for spinning I'm hoping for kind of a fingering weight, sport weight yarn with not much thick and thin. I know I have some thicker spots on the single where still have some trouble joining the fiber if I accidentally like pull off a piece, but I think I'm pretty optimistic. I might even get lace weight on a few portions. This single is definitely very thin, and yeah, the spindle spins really well. I actually got 2 other spindles from the same person's D-stash. They're back there. They're both on the heavier side, but I'm looking forward to using those. I might use one of them to ply this. And that's it for spinning. That's really it for fibery stuff I've been doing. Things have been pretty busy, and just it's the end of the semester. Even though I'm a student teacher, I'm also simultaneously a grad student, so my classes got lots of final projects and stuff. But that's been fine. um, and really, something I've been working on is, you know, finding a source of internal validation for myself, because I don't know, ever since I was pretty young, I relied a lot on external validation to feel good about myself, which has led to, I mean, I've never really had much self-esteem, and when I got to college, that really fueled my depression. So this is really a long-term goal for me, especially as I'm seeing a therapist, and she's working for me. I like her a lot. I already started my wrap-up. So the only thing I got to just finish this up is drawing for my 200 subscriber giveaway. And the prize for that is going to be a $25 Etsy gift card and a selection of some minis. I wasn't able to grab all of them because I need to find a good container. There are more. There are about 4 more in the pile. I just wasn't able to grab them. This is actually a little mini that Jennifer sent with my order from her shop. And these are all yarns from various projects that I've done. If you've been watching for a while, you might recognize some of them. I'm okay. The prompt for this giveaway was, what do you like about the podcast, and what would you like to see more of the podcast? Alternatively to the second question, what would you like to see more of from me, like outside of podcast episodes or something? And I got a lot of really good responses. So this goes back to what I was talking about with internal validation and external validation. And I know this is external validation for me, and because the knitting community, people in the knitting fiber arts community are just so kind and supportive and generous that really it's been pretty good for my self-esteem. But something I hope to do is to take the external validation and internalize it and incorporate it so I can, really believe the good qualities about myself. Some of the responses that stood out to me, there was Damama5 or Damama5, and she said that it was so easy for her to answer what she likes about my podcast. So I'm just reading her post out loud. I have a child in college at the moment. The first 5 years of my marriage, my husband was, while he was in grad school for chemistry, who then left industry after 7 years to become an 8th grade public school teacher. And I also have a teenage daughter who is a knitter and into the sciences. So you are simply all my family rolled into one. And I'm really happy I can be that, that you can personally connect to my podcast like that. So, yep, she enjoys hearing about my teaching stories. I don't know how much of my teaching I can talk about here, given that this is a pretty public forum, but I mean, it's definitely a big part of my life right now and influencing what I do with my craft. So, yeah, I will try to do that more. A number of people commented on my spinning. I enjoy my spinning too. I will definitely talk about it more. I had a request from Nadira Tani, who is Kalisha, from the Quirky Monday Craft Cast, that she'd like to see more time lapses of me crafting, like when I was chain plying. I think she's talking about an Instagram video I posted of me chain plying on a drop spindle, and yeah, that's something I'm gonna try. I'm trying different ways of kind of formatting my videos, just doing more with my media, especially now that I have a more settled living situation and I can, look into equipment when my budget allows it. I've been thinking about getting a mic, but yeah. So, okay, anyway, to the winner, so I did a random number generator and picked a post, and the winner was Yarn Cafe Creations, who's Christy, and also the dyer behind a lot of projects I've been doing recently. And she also started a podcast recently, The Girl in the Yarn Cafe. I finally got around to watching your podcast, Christy, and you are just so easy to listen to. And I love hearing about your 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 work in dyeing yarn, and yeah, it's just great. So she said, I'm always impressed when someone is willing to talk about hard things they have been through or going through. Thank you for speaking up about your mental health. As a marriage and family therapist, it is always refreshing to hear someone bring awareness to mental health. So many are suffering and so many are afraid to get help. Thank you for talking, Chanel, and thank you for your kind words about my yarn. Yes, you're welcome for all of that, Christy, and thank you so much for the support and for that validation. Um, yeah, speaking up about my mental health is something I started doing in college once I really started showing symptoms of anxiety and depression. And I think without it, I would probably not be here. I think my way of coping when I am struggling with things is I need to be open about it. I can't really bottle it up, or it's just like tears me up on the inside. So I'm glad that people are connecting with that and that they are hearing it and hopefully learning from it. And yeah, so thank you again to everyone who entered, said kind words, and for continuing to support me and giving me a space to talk. So, Christy, get in touch with me. Send me your mailing address. I might have an old shipping label actually from you, but send me your shipping address just in case, and I will get your prize to you. And also, wait, no, of course I know your Etsy. I know your Etsy username. I can send you the gift card. So, yeah, thank you so much again. And that is it for me. That short episode. Good. It is dark. Oh my god, is it snowing? Oh my god. All right. Bye, everyone.